recording.
Sineres lang na. Oh. Will be personal identity. So, what is the issue of personal identity? Usually, it talks about questions such as, what are we? So, answers could range from, what are we? We are essentially our brain. Or perhaps, we are essentially those we are essentially the mental states that are inside the brain. So it could be the memories, intentions, likes and dislikes of a person. We can now transition to another question inside of personal identity, which is how can we know that how can we know that a past person can be the same as some future person? So for example, how can you say that your past self, the 10 years ago is the same as your it's the same as your present self 10 years after that. So ako yun. My answer for that would be that if you have the same mental states as before, for example, you can remember or you have the memories of, for instance, graduate school or a typical graduate school class from, for example, 2 weeks ago, and if in the future get married, so you will have that memory of marriage. So that is how you will persist through time. One objection for this is that what if a person splits into two? So suppose that there is an operation wherein your brain will be dissected into two and will be put into two identical bodies. So when those two persons come to or become or awaken, they will have your apparent memories before the operation. So so in this example, Smith undergoes the operation and he splits into two and becomes and gives birth to lefty and righty, so to speak. So who will be Smith now? Will it be lefty or will it be righty? This objection is called the vision case, wherein we cannot see who is the initial person, because having the same memories, same intentions, same likes and dislikes will entail that the two of them will be identical to some past person, but that cannot be. Some responses to this. One response to this will be the best candidate response, wherein some future person, it's still the same, the initial criteria for it, wherein the past person is the same as as some future person if and only if there is continuity of mental states, meaning that there's still the same likes, same memories, same overall personality, but with an added criteria, which is that there should only be one same person, or that there is no other person that will be identical to the past person. So in this case, if this happened, Smith will die. So basically, Smith is dead after the fusion case happened. So the next question will be, so what? So why do we even need to think about these kinds of things? Why do we need to think of these kinds of problems if basically there is no really sure shot way of saying that this will happen? Well, take this for instance. For example, let us say Smith commits murder in some sort of time, so for, let's say Monday, and then he undergoes the operation after, and then after committing the murder, then splits into two on Tuesday. So how can we now say who will be liable to the said murder. Going back to that, we can say that Smith has died, but he created two identical copies of him who can also be liable for the murder. Why will they be liable for the murder? Well, they have the entirety of Smith, or who was Smith before the operation, meaning that they will become part. Smith became part of who they are. So, what does this show? This show that a person's identity, or who that person is, can affect another person's identity. So, uh, so this will lead now to my argument. So my arguments will be simple. P implies Q, P therefore Q. So P is that identity involving properties can be external, while take that Q is that our identities can affect another person's identity. So as shown in the fission case, identity involving properties can be external because just the sole fact that another person is alive would mean that your identity will be changed, meaning that on that particular event, our identity was changed by another person. We are not lefty will not be lefty if not for righty, and righty will not be righty if not for lefty, because in the event that either of the two dies, lefty will become Smith or righty will become Smith too. So a simple example, but we can stretch this further by saying that, by asking again, so what? So what now if identity involving properties can be external? I can say that the influence of your identity to another person's identity can vary in degrees, while the fission case, or that theoretical case, will be the utmost peak of a person influencing another person's identity, as shown in the murder variation. So what can be a lesser degree of influence to another person's identity? So take for instance a drug addict who usually takes drugs all the time, the simple drug addict, but he becomes in love with another person. So, but suppose also that other person doesn't want to date drug addicts, and he hears of that. So, what happens is that this person will try to change himself, or change his identity from a drug addict into, former drug addict, because he wants to curry the favor of the one he loves. Well, you can go many ways on this. We can go many ways on this example. For example, of course, being a drug addict, he might transition into becoming somewhat of a rapist, kidnapper, but I think this is a bit more lighter. So, other questions on other possible questions on this topic is that do the knowledge of the other person will matter in seeing their identity. For example, if lefty does have the knowledge of righty surviving, he will think that he is Smith, but he is not Smith because righty is also alive. So yeah. And the other question is that what about Sir's Chinese room argument? So do the simple do the simple stuff like the memories of being Smith will equate to Smith being part of you. To the simple intentions of Smith will equate to being part of you. You can go as far as what if What if your memories were implanted into some sort of a machine? Will that be Smith, or will that be you? So that is all for my presentation, and thank you.